Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Dan and I'm here to bring you another FPL video. In this one we're going to be looking at my Game Week 20 final thoughts. A couple of things really to be talking about with possible transfers that I've already made this week so far, and of course the big captaincy debate. I wanted to get into some statistics and break down a couple of options for you guys that I think are the best options for this game week, and hopefully it helps you come to a conclusion. At the beginning of the video as well, we will just touch on a brief summary of how I got on in Game Week 19 now that tonight that's all been wrapped up between Chelsea and Fulham. Of course, if you're new to the channel, then do consider subscribing. It is completely free, of course, and if you enjoy the content, guys, then smash that like button below. So let's have a look first of all, as mentioned, how I got on in Game Week 19. Me personally, I only had two players playing. I didn't have a captain. I didn't have anyone really of note other than really Mason Mount. I was expecting potential returns from him. He did get that assist and, of course, the one appearance point. Unfortunately, got a yellow card and, of course, no other returns from him. So he gained me 4 points tonight. Of course, Kepa as well, conceding 2 goals with no additional save points, unfortunately, tonight, meaning that he's only scored me an additional 1. So that brings my total for this week up to 62 points, which I think is very respectable. Currently, the rank looks like it's around the 750k mark. That's according to Live FPL post substitute. So we'll have to have a look how close that is. Usually it's pretty close anyway. But what I'm confident with now is I'm only about 20 points away from a kind of the 300k mark, I believe. So we're very, very close now. The ranks, of course, we knew were quite condensed. But really pushing on to that 100k, I think is going to be more than doable now. We've done a tremendous job in getting this far. So it's just perfect. It's gone really, really well for me so far. Of course, you can see there in the bank, I've got 1.6 million and a squad value of 100.7. As mentioned, I have made one transfer already, and I did the Darwin to Kane move. I actually did that early hours on the 12th of Jan because it looked like Kane was rising in price, and I genuinely believed, even before we got the Darwin news today, that he's potentially out for a couple of weeks. I felt like that was the obvious move, right? In my team selection video, I kind of felt like that was the route I was going to go to. And then I think in my my kind of strategy video after that, I said that I feel like Liverpool aren't really ticking. Yes, he's a bit of an XG magnet, but he's not finishing enough in the Premier League for me to justify holding on to him for that price. And then, of course, he goes and gets himself flagged anyway. So it would have been a really easy decision. Of course, Kane didn't end up actually going up in price in the end anyway. So I've made that transfer, but yeah, it never actually resulted in any price change. And then my second transfer, I haven't confirmed anything yet, but realistically, Mason Mount is the one that's on the watch list for me to be out. I think Chelsea really have such an underwhelming team at the moment, and it's not necessarily the change of manager. They have also been riddled with injuries. Of course, Aubameyang just looks completely disinterested and is possibly linked with a move back to Barcelona. They had João Felix tonight, obviously on his debut, pick up a red card, so he's now got to serve a 3-match suspension, which could prove pivotal essentially for Mason Mount, because he looked like he was linking up quite well with Felix, to be honest, in certain parts of the pitch. Definitely in the lead up to the final third from an eye test perspective. I quite like the relationship that seemed to have built already between him, Felix and Havertz, of course, but it just never really worked out to anything. Of course, Mason Mount hit the post. He got the assist for the Koulibaly goal. But I just feel like, this Palace fixture on paper does look quite good. It looks promising. Palace are also a team that haven't really showcased much fight for me, in my opinion at least, over recent weeks. But I feel like Chelsea are just so riddled with injuries, and they've just had so many problems to deal with, that it's just not quite working out for him. So he's definitely on the watch list out. I haven't got anybody in mind though. Well, I've got a few different players in mind, but I just feel like some of them might be traps. For example, Mahrez. I really don't want to get into that territory again. Last week I already got rid of Phil Foden because obviously he frustrated me so much with being a part of Pep's roulette. Obviously sold him for Rodrigo. Do I really want to now reverse and go for another Manchester City midfielder who I just know is going to get limited minutes later down the line? I don't think I do. And then aside from that, really, with the 1.6 million I have in the bank, there's very little in terms of upgrades that I could potentially do for Mason Mount. I can't go as high as Bruno Fernandes. And even then, if I did want to go to a Manchester United third asset, I would probably pick Eriksen over him. So there's essentially the reason why the big question mark is on that player is because I'm just undecided. There's nobody that sticks out for me at that price point or in and around it. Potentially, I could downgrade to Eriksen. I could go for that third United asset. I just feel like it's a little bit underwhelming. I'm not sure that I trust Eriksen, Rashford and Shaw all to return in this double. I'm definitely backing Rashford and Shaw to do something, but I'm not 100% convinced I would go all in on United as of yet. The other option, of course, is to target an Arsenal player, potentially ahead of the double game week 23 and possible announcement that we might have of a double game week 21. So that's what I think. Out of all of the options, I would probably go for an Arsenal asset, but is it worth a -4? Let me know in the comments below what you would do, because I have got a little bit of flexibility there for both downgrading and of course going up to someone like a Saka, for example. But let me know in the comments what you think you would do with that second move. I will note as well, it is obviously a -4 for me. It's not a free transfer, but I just felt like this would be the week to get rid of Mount to essentially capture another double game week player, right? So moving into basically the bulk of the video, realistically, guys, and that is the head-to-head-to-head for captaincy. Now, it's worth noting that I'm not going to talk in detail about whether you should activate the triple captain or not. All I'll caveat this part of the video with is saying that if you think your captain is going to do very well this week, then why not activate the chip? Ultimately, the triple captain is there to give you another set of points, right? If your captain scores 16 points this week, you get another 16 points for the triple captain. I just feel like if you're going to do it, this possibly is the week to do it, though. After looking ahead at several different double game week possibilities, and Ben Krellin on Twitter, of course, I know, again, I'm mentioning his name here on the channel, but he is a fantastic individual for the community, and he really does break down what the possibilities are in the future for us to plan ahead. And it just doesn't look like the captaincy, or triple captaincy, should I say, is going to be used elsewhere. It just looks like other chips, especially if you've still got them. I will again caveat it with that you do need to make sure that, you know, if you've not used your chips yet, then absolutely this looks like the week to do it. If you've already used your free hit or your bench boost, then maybe not. Maybe you do hold out for slightly better fixtures. But of course, yeah, like I mentioned, this conversation is about head-to-head-to-head on just the captaincy, not necessarily the triple captaincy. So take it as you will. But here in front of us, we've got several different stats. I decided to add the momentum part of the graphic here at the bottom at quite late notice, just because I felt like the XG/XA stats and of course goals and assists, I talk about those in detail in watch lists usually, and I break down players' statistics individually like that. But one thing I never really talk about, and I don't feel like we do as an FPL community much, is momentum. And it is everything in football. I genuinely believe that momentum is everything. And if you look at Arsenal at top of the league, there is a reason why they've been able to hold that spot and they've been able to hold Manchester City at bay. They are looking like a very, very formidable squad under Arteta. And that partially is down to the momentum. Even the World Cup didn't really faze them. I could argue that Arsenal have probably come back better than what Manchester City have from what I've seen so far. But what I would say is Marcus Rashford, out of all three of these, definitely has the most positive momentum, right? We've had 2 goals against Charlton, a goal and assist against Everton, a goal against Bournemouth, a goal against Wolves, and of course a goal and assist against Forest. Now, you could look at those fixtures and say, of course, on paper, they are probably as easy as they get. So the question mark is about his consistency against the big boys, right? In the top 6, what can he do against these individuals? What could he do against City at Old Trafford? Who knows? But I'm genuinely looking at backing him because I think he's a little bit of a differential. Not so much to the point where, of course, his ownership will be pretty high. There will be individuals in the community and probably in the top 10,000, which I'm nowhere near anyway, that will put the armband on him. But I think after his success at Bournemouth, it is tipping me towards him a little bit. So let's just have a look a little bit closer on the statistics I really want to point out from this section. And of course, Haaland here does win. He does overall, from the statistics in front of us, he's got the most positive output. He scored 21 goals this Premier League season. He's got an XG of 1.07 and an XA of 0.25. So his stats overall supersede both other options. Kane really, in terms of assists, is the only thing to note. He's got 4, Haaland's got 3. There's really very small margins between them on that. But again, once you look at the momentum, you could argue that Everton and Leeds are also very, very easy fixtures for Manchester City, and they are 2 games he's returned in. Now, of course, on Chelsea's fixture against Chelsea, he blanked. Southampton in the Cup, he only played 30 minutes, but of course, City did look like a little bit of a defeated team there. I don't really know what's happened. If Pep has just, tinkered a little bit too much to take the fluidity and the flow away from City. But again, that goes back to an argument where the momentum for me is much more in Rashford's favour. So again, take this snapshot as you will, read into it what you will as well, but I just wanted to showcase maybe a little bit of extra information as opposed to just raw, here's some numbers. Actually have a look at the goals and assists that these individuals have achieved over the past weeks as well. Then looking at the next section, I felt like it was an important part to dissect what are these opponents actually like for these individuals. Now, when you break down the stats once again, you have to look at, I suppose, where each of these individuals plays. Now, primarily, Rashford will play on the left-hand side, where he does come to the centre from time to time. So maybe this is a little bit fluid. I can't really give you an absolute concrete, this is where Rashford operates, and this is the statistic we need to look at. But with Haaland and Kane, we can definitely pinpoint the centre as being their most active area in the final third. So the interesting thing on Kane, straight off the bat, yes, he loves a London derby, but 32 chances only have been conceded by Arsenal in the centre of the pitch. I do still back Kane to get at least one return out of these two games, but again, you look at Manchester City and you look at Arsenal's stats for conceded chances in the centre of the field. This is the season so far, by the way. This is for the Premier League games, and all the statistics are found on Fantasy Football Scout, These are the best two defences in the league. So I find it hard to justify captaining him. I wanted to bring him in because I like him long-term as a Mr. Consistent. And of course, I do believe this double game week will still gain returns. And he would have scored more points than Darwin, which is why I made that move. I'm just erring on the edge of caution with captaining him. I don't think he's in the mix for me, but I wanted to showcase his stats here. We then look at, of course, Erling Haaland, again operating in the centre. The most standout options here, when we have a look and break down even further, are these two right here, for Manchester United and for Tottenham. Now, for Manchester United away, I actually feel like Haaland might struggle a little bit here. In this Manchester derby, because of Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane, both World Cup finalists, of course, one being a World Cup winner, one being the runner-up, that is a phenomenal centre-back partnership. Now, if they can put, if any partnership at the moment in terms of form and strength and essentially confidence running through them that can stop Haaland, it's those two. And I genuinely believe that if you look again at the statistics here, that we concede most chances down the right and left-hand side, and that is because of the way Ten Hag sets up, right? We usually have two deep centre-backs, and of course our wing-backs are pushed up as far as the halfway line usually in possession. So we can get caught out sometimes on the break, of course, balls over the top. But down the centre, it seems to be a very controlled area for Manchester United. And I think this has been a little bit overlooked. Yes, it's a Manchester derby. It could be heated, but I don't actually feel like he's going to get many returns against United. The interesting point, and this goes for both Rashford and Haaland, is the second fixture. This is where I think most of the points are going to be scored. Whichever captain you choose to go with, I'm going to back the second week is where we get the majority of the points. And if you look at the reasoning why, first of all, again, while we're on Haaland, we'll talk about Tottenham at home. Tottenham at home, in the centre, Tottenham have conceded already 93 chances. And I genuinely believe there's a bit of disarray in that back line for Spurs at the moment. And they're a team that can be got at. They're a team that I think Arsenal will probably beat in the London derby, to be honest. But, you know, they can definitely be gotten at. Now, 93 chances is, I think, in terms of the chart, they're about third worst. Right? They're literally so bad in the centre of the pitch that this man can exploit it better than anybody. So this is where I feel like Haaland's points are going to come from. Then you look at the opposite, or not necessarily the opposite, but the alternative option in Marcus Rashford. You have a look at Crystal Palace's data, and their worst side is the left-hand side, which is where Rashford primarily operates. What I found interesting, though, when I started digging a little bit deeper onto understat.com, for example, was where he actually shoots, where his output comes from. It isn't actually on the left-hand side. When you look at where he scored his goals from, they do primarily come in the centre, although it starts usually from the left-hand side. So it's a kind of combination. Like, I can't really draw a line under it and say one bit is better than the other, which is why I've highlighted both. But I genuinely believe that this Palace fixture could be an absolute phenomenal haul for this man. So I think it's very, very close between the two of them. I personally am leaning towards Marcus Rashford because I'm using my heart, right? I'm a Manchester United fan. I've never triple captained a Manchester United player. And I feel like this is the opportunity with Marcus on fire, with just the way that he's going and just the momentum that I feel like United have got at the moment. They're going to have a point to prove, right? We lost 6-3 at the Etihad. This is a reverse fixture. You know, this man could definitely do something against City. But of course, as mentioned, my head is definitely swaying towards Haaland in terms of the statistics. So I'm still torn. There is absolutely no decision that has been made here. At time of recording, the captaincy armband is actually on Marcus Rashford, but who knows? Of course, I'll be live streaming tomorrow ahead of the deadline, so feel free to join me and you'll find out exactly what I do decide to do. But hopefully this content has been useful for you guys. I haven't got any more data to break down. But like I say, I think really it's only between two individuals. I wanted to bring Harry Kane into the mix as I know he may be a popular pick for the double game week, but also there could be some individuals that would be thinking about captaining. So maybe that helps you finalise your decisions. But let me know below, guys. This is a different type of video, so sorry if I've rambled on a little bit more than usual, but hopefully, again, you found it useful. If you're new to the channel, guys, then consider subscribing to me. Of course, hit that notification bell as well to be notified of all future content. So thanks again for watching, guys. I hopefully see you in the deadline stream or another video soon. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon.